Okay, so now we're going to learn about access modifiers in Java. Let's just create a new project in IntelliJ that is going to house our access modifiers. We'll call it modifiers. Let's add some sample code and press create. We've got our code space here. Let's demonstrate how we are going to use these access modifiers, what they are for, and why they are the way they are. So, in Java, we have access modifiers. These are keywords such as public, private, protected, and there is another one called default, but that just represents, the default scope or the default access rather than an actual word default, and I'll show you what I mean here. So let's just create a package, right? We'll call it combo-ben. We'll whack all our stuff in that package, and let's create a sub package inside here called car, right? And let's say we have an application that stores, cars, models, years, colors, and etc. This does assume that you have already gone through the previous tutorials in this series. So if any of this looks alien to you, then please go back to those. Nevertheless, let's go new class. We'll call this car. We're going to create a car object. It's going to have these attributes. It is going to have a model. It is going to have a year made. It is going to have a color. It is going to have some mileage on it. And it's going to have a make. So /make/brand, right? Now, most of these are strings apart from mileage and year made, which we could just make integers. So let's just create those fields as we would in a normal object, right? So we're going to have a string, which is going to be the model. We're also going to have an int, which is going to be year made, integer. We're also going to have a string, which is going to represent the color. And we're also going to have some mileage. And we're also going to have the brand of the car, e.g. Lamborghini. Cool. So we have our fields here. Now, we just created a standard object that we can use, in this main class. Let's use it here. So we use that. We're going car equals new car. And it'll import it for us there. So we've got this empty object. And we can go ahead and, get the values by going car dot and then whatever, usually. But you'll notice that if we do that, then we don't have access to them. Now, previously in previous tutorials, we would have this car and main class in the same package, right? Because if you look, car is within this other package here. This right here is what we call default access. So essentially, default access is essentially the lack of an access modifier. So usually your access modifier would go here beforehand. It could be like public or protected. But the default one, which is if we don't specify one of these at all, is accessible within the same package, but not from outside of this package. So if we had another class in here called bar, right? And we wanted to do it here, if we had like car, we could access it here, right? So car dot mileage, we could put that in here. Now, essentially, this main is outside, so we can't access any of the fields or methods. This applies to everything that has an access modifier on it. We could have a method here, void drive, for example. And we can write our code in there. And the same principle would apply. So car dot, we can't get the drive method because it's default access. Now, if we wanted to make these public so that main could access these, then we put public in front of everything. So this applies to both fields and methods, like I say. So if we whack a public in front of every single one of these, we are going to give them public access. So that means that any class can access that field and potentially change it. And if it's a method or a function, then it can run those and access those too. So we've just made everything public. Now let's go back to main and let's write car dot. And you'll notice that stuff starts to come up, such as drive. We can access the drive method, which currently does nothing. We can also access the brand, and we can even change the brand as well. We can be like Lamborghini. I think that's how you spell Lamborghini. And we can go car dot mileage equals 10, car dot model equals something. And the list goes on, right? So this is public access. That means that any other class in any other one of these packages, we can have many, many packages here. It means that they can all access these fields, the values of those fields, and they can change them, and they can access the methods as well. So that's public, right? So we've gone through default, which is the lack of an access modifier. As you can see, when we change that, it creates this problem here because it's not accessible anymore. Now that we've obviously got default, public, and we've also got private. Now private is kind of what it sounds like, right? If we put a private in front of this drive method, so if we replace that public with private, and we go back to main, then that will create an issue here. You see this red line, because now we can't access this drive method because it's explicitly been made private. And what private means is it's only accessible within this car class here. So essentially, this means that we wouldn't be able to share this drive method with others, right? It's kind of like if we have a private field, it's kind of like private, classified information that we don't want accessible from outside of this class. So now we've made the drive function and the model private. We go back here, and as you see, that goes red. We can't access that, so we have to remove that. So that's private. Now there's one more, and that is called protected. So let's see how that can be used. So protected is essentially, accessible within car. All of the fields are accessible within car, whether they're default, public, private, or protected. But protected is accessible within this and other subclasses of car. So we can have a class in a class. If we put a class inside car, like public class car, like this, well, we'd have to name it something different, right? We name it car1. We can access a protected field such as the year made within here. And also, we can also access the protected field or the protected method or a protected subclass within this car package. So for example, if we had a method, right, public void hello, right, I'm just going to create one for example. We could create a car, so car equals new car. And if we go car dot, you can see that this year made is actually accessible from bar because it's in the same package as car. Now, there's many use cases for this if you have applications that have many packages or many modules, but that is what the protected access will do, is it will protect it to just that package and the class itself. Now, obviously, if we try and access this within main, go car dot, you'll notice that we actually can't access the year made. If we start typing year made, we can't access it. Because main is within a different package to car. It's in the same, they share the same package, but car is within its own little compartment. And its protected fields are protected to just its sort of little compartment or package here. So anything in here can access a protected field or a protected method. But anything outside, if we had another package called bar, and we create something in here, we could not access the protected attributes of car. So that is like the basic explanation of public, protected, default, all of those sort of scopes. Again, only the basics. There are some more advanced ways of laying these out, and there's some advanced use cases of these, but we're not going to go over that in today's tutorial. And hopefully you guys understand. If you don't, please comment down below, and I'll see you in the next one.